Good noon, gardening friends. It's now Sunday. Rare for the last few weeks, a rare update I've been able to do without waiting until the following Saturday. And something I've been wondering about and trying to figure out how to deal with, and that is this white powdery mildew and these sort of rust-colored stains. I've been looking at it, trying to understand, doing some research, and from what I'm understanding, this stuff is going to be hard to kill without using some sort of chemical thing. I mean, there are simple solutions with baking soda and water, but it's also middle of the day. We're getting towards the heat of the day, and you don't want to apply it then because you're going to stress the plant. So what I'm going to do is, there's two ways of dealing with this. One is to cut off the leaves, and I've just got to hope the plant will survive losing that much. The second is to apply that solution. I'm just going to go ahead and cut off a bunch of leaves here because I'm not even sure this is the plant I thought it was. But I'm going to go ahead and cut off the leaves and strip it back, and we'll see what we get. Alright folks, I don't know how well you can see it, but that plant's been cut down significantly. I probably cut more than 50% of the leaves off, but I got rid of the vast majority of the powdery mildew. So we'll see how well the plant holds up after all of that. Okay folks, a couple more developments here today. The patio tomato, I'd mentioned it towards the end of the last, well, on the last episode, that it had basically started kind of falling over under its own weight. I think the reason being that it tends to get the sun hitting it on the face on the opposite side of where we are right now, and so most of the fruit was coming out on that side, and because of that it was all very top heavy and it just pulled itself over. So went ahead and put up 4 pieces of bamboo, used a little bit of gardener's tape there, the rubber plastic tape, kind of wrapped it around the stem and tied it off at the 4 corners, so I think it's giving it quite a bit of support. We'll see what we get from that. And it appears we've had the first failure of a glued box. I was talking to one of the neighbors. I just happened to lean on it, and I felt the middle of the 3 pieces on the front. I felt that middle piece shift, and it was loose. So I actually took a piece of wood I happen to have and just banded it across the front and nailed it to the sides. So I'm hoping that will hold and brace it so I don't have to pull it all apart and rebuild it again. This may not be one of the fully glued boxes. Some of them I built and put up, and they were holding up beautifully. Other ones I was realizing the problem, so I went through a very long process of re-gluing them so that everything was done with glue instead of nails or screws. I'm now realizing glue is not really the solution. I can use it to fill some of the gaps, but it'll probably only hold up for the year, and I'll probably have to redo all of these boxes again next year. So I'm going to have to look at reinforcing them with some kind of mechanical fastener. Anyway, we'll see how long that patch holds up. On positive notes though, the strawberries were starting to develop. They were getting much more ripe, so I decided to try one. They still needed to be ripened a little bit more, but I'm getting strawberries. And I finally identified the pepper plants that I have. Had to go all the way back to episode 10 to try and figure out what I had. So it turns out, if I've got this all right, the 2 in the front are the Marconi peppers, and the one in the back, which is a lot shorter, is a Stavros peperoncini. And I think I'll wrap up today with a picture of one of the strawberry blooms, that pink flower you see, and if you look in the distance, I don't know how well it's going to come out, I have another flower on the squash plant. So that's actually a positive for the squash plant, which they've really been struggling. So that's it for today. Good afternoon, gardening friends. It is now Saturday at about 4:30 in the afternoon, and since I gave you some updates earlier in the week, I only have a few little things to cover, but there's a couple of things worthy of note, so let's take a look. First, let's look at the peppers. It looks to me like there's little buds coming off that look like they're actually going to give me flowers, so that may be the first signs of actual peppers. This is only on one of the, well, actually looks like the other Marconi may be starting to develop that too. So these are the Marconi peppers, and actually the peperoncini might actually be giving me something too, and that's down below. The peperoncini is a lot smaller right now than the Marconis, but I would be really happy if I start seeing flowers, and those would turn into, I hope, into actual peppers. And the wind is blowing. It seems to hold up in the wind though. Up in the big planter, we've got more flowers, and actually some in the smaller planter for the strawberries. So more strawberries on the way. And there, in fact, is one of the strawberries I have yet to enjoy. And actually there's another one kind of hiding behind it, so I got two of them to enjoy. Cucumbers seem to really suffer here in my garden. I guess it's just not the right sort of settings to try and grow cucumber here. Although, well, I've had to cut off 2 of the 3 branches coming off of this thing. I'm down to the 1, and it's turning brown in other places. We'll see if anything develops. I do see some fresher green in there, so it might bounce back. We'll see. The basil is still struggling, so we'll give it a shot of water. And, well, I was going to demonstrate something. Let's see if we can get enough in there. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but where I had to band that particular planter back together, the water is just spitting right out the front. So, anyway, now there's some more water in there. Hopefully they'll bounce back. Maters, what can I say? The tomatoes are doing good. I put the middle one there, which is the patio tomato, put that back up and re-supported it with kind of a fence around it, if you will. It seems to have really helped it out. It's straightened out, and I'll get you a shot from the other side. You'll be able to see the tomatoes that are developing, and one that's got kind of an interesting pattern to it as it ripens. There's flowers on all 3 plants, and I'm encouraged by that. I'm going to just enjoy a lot of tomatoes, I guess. This is kind of a hard shot to get, but I hope you can see there's a couple of tomatoes that are turning pretty good red. There's one that's kind of an orange color, and there's one there that's red on the top and green on the bottom. I'm not sure what that means, except maybe it started to ripen when it was kind of hunched over before I put up the supports. So that's the tomato. And that brings us to the petunias in this box, which this week have roared back to life. I see more in another box, and I think maybe the difference is that I changed the way I've been doing the watering this week. It kind of started right before the end of the last episode, but instead of watering once a week heavy and then trying to just support it during the week, I thought about doing it twice a week or 3 times a week, and then I just hit on the idea of maybe I'll just do it every 3 days. That way it's still regular like once a week, but they're getting more water. And I found that I don't really have to support, except for the vegetables, I don't really have to put so much more support water in between those 3 days. So I think that may have been the key. It gives just enough to get down to the roots. The root system can grow out bigger and get that much more energy for the plant. So with you, you might, for the rest of you, you might want to experiment with this. I see so many things that say, certain plants want watering on a regular schedule, but they want to, like an inch of water once a week. I think it really kind of depends on your climate on top of something like that. So the idea is to water regularly, but now that is if my experiment is really working out here. But regularly, I don't know if it's an inch of water. I basically soak each individual planter until I see water coming out the bottom, and I have sufficient drainage on all of my planters. I've made sure of that. Or at least I'm pretty sure. So that's the key. Good drainage, so that if you put too much water, the excess will come out. And if you water to the point where you see water coming out the bottom, and you might have a saucer underneath it to catch some of that excess, that ensures that the soil gets completely moist but doesn't stay wet. And that way your plants can then grow their roots further out to try and catch that moisture, because moisture will inevitably evaporate off the top. So you don't want to just do a shallow watering all the time, because then the root system is stuck at the top and it can't really develop, and the plant isn't all that healthy. So this is what I've really kind of learned this week. This is a real advantage. And I think that wraps it up for the week. We'll keep watching and see what happens in the next episode. So this is the Budget Gardener signing off and wishing you that your thumb be green.